Good afternoon, YouTube, my fellow friend, gaming enthusiasts, game masters, players, and hangers-on. Like I said, there's lots of guys out there vlogging, a few gals too, doing this sort of thing, and I thought I want to get my 2 cents worth in. You know what? It's free. I got some time to kill right now. Let's talk about some stuff that I find convenient or useful or interesting, or just hear myself ramble. It's all good. Like I said, I was looking up and I see a lot of these guys and they highlight this game system or that game system or this module or that book or this source book or so on and so forth. And that's great. This is a new stuff. Gives you some valuable information. Is that sort of game my thing? Can I, is it worth me spending 30 or 50 bucks to purchase it, or should I let it go and jump on board with this other thing? On the other hand, I look back at my shelves and I go, I have a lot of good stuff here. There's a reason why it's still good and still valid, even 30 years or 20 years after when it was produced. Now, I'm looking at my second edition stuff at the moment. That's right, 2D or 2.0, if you will, 2E second edition, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure where the 5E thing plays in, but AD&D second edition. This system here, a particular book, is called the Tome of Magic. You got Magic Compendiums and you have Magic books, and you got lots of sections in player handbooks and the Dungeon Master Guide, as well as, excuse me, the Game Master Guide, and other source books that give you additional rules and pre stuff. Now, some of the things I've noticed, though, having read later versions, I currently play the 3.0 or 3.5 version, and I prefer it over the 4.0 and the newer 5.0, which are, as far as I'm concerned, both lack a lot of substance. There's some sort of edging toward trying to cater to the card playing crowd, and there's nothing wrong with Magic the Gathering, but Dungeons and Dragons or any other tabletop role playing game or war gaming system has its own place, and it's not as a card game or a medium halfway between the two. That's just my opinion for what it's worth. Anywho, I've gone back and I've read some of those things, and then I've compared notes, and I realized, gee, over time, there's spells and priestly duty and magic items and stuff that never got carried over from the older stuff to the newer stuff. Or if it did, it got lost someplace or completely modified, or the name was changed, so it's no longer quite the same thing. Now, this particular book shows the evolution, if you will, of the game of the magic system for Dungeons and Dragons. And the reason I say that is because if you look at the current books and stuff, let's see, what is it called? The circles or the clerical. Oh, not classes. The clerical. The fields that you specialize in. They originated in earlier stuff. A lot of it come from Dragon and Dungeon magazine and the RPGA network along magazine, along with a slew of other things, including supplements and the occasional modules over the years. And then it was compiled into various books similar to this, the Magic Compendium, which I have yet to get. I'm trying to get a 3.0 version of it. I see one on local Jay's CD and hobby bookstore, and it's on my hope to stay. Hope to get soon. Hope it stays on the shelf until I get it. Because some of us can't afford to go out and spend 50 or 100 bucks every week on new stuff. There was a time in my life when I did that. I was between marriages and I dropped 50 bucks every week, and 50 bucks back then, this book would have been 20 bucks, 15 bucks, and I could have got one or two of these and a couple lead miniature sets, or this or that or the other thing. Yeah, 50 bucks don't go as far as it used to, my friends. That's nostalgia for you right there. So, having these things on my shelf gives me some advantages, and it opens the realm of additional ideas to some of my friends who are players. And the particular book here dealt with something called the Wild Magic or Wild Wizards, and encouraged or included or introduced the specialty sections for the priests. I want to say they called them What did they call them? Yeah, you stumped me. I don't remember, and I know I just read it too. That's part of getting old. Spheres, the new spheres, chaos, law, thought, ord, time, ords, traveler. It's all that was introduced in this particular book. Now, when I went look this, and I kept looking at some of the stuff and comparing it, and I thought, gee, you know what? There's some goofy stuff in here. There's also some interesting spells and that didn't get translated over or got changed. I'm just looking at one as an example. Turn pebble to boulder. Would you like to pick up a rock and throw it at somebody and turn it into something that's 10 times its size? How about unluck? Safeguarding, Kazad's procurement for those guys that have trouble getting their picking up and getting their spell components. If you bother with that sort of thing, I've played a lot of people who have this preference for just having a never-ending bag of stuff, or we just forego it altogether. It's just assumed that your wizard has the stuff he needs to cast his spells. It's a given. Although I have played in some campaigns and I ran campaigns where mechanics were heavy, and if you didn't have the right stuff, you couldn't do the spell. And sometimes it was a sidebar adventure that was interesting, just trying to procure enough cobwebs to do your webbing spell. It's just amusing or a change of pace. Something to consider. But you go and I look in here, and we got Bloodstone's frightening joining, hatch the stone from the egg, intensify summoning, suffocate. And that's not to, leave the priest folks behind, because they got invisibility, purge, helping hand, no customs, memory read, miscast magic, random casualty, unearthly choir, thieves Lamont, dimension folding, cloud of purification, blessed reverence, memory rack, group mind, the great circle, a lot of interesting stuff, and you don't see them in the more modern versions of these books. Maybe that's for good reason. They left them out, or because of a lack of interest. I don't know. I mean, come on, how many people need a ring of bureaucratic wizardry? You got to read it to understand what it means. Ring of fortitude, rod of distortion, wand of corridors. Maybe we could live without that one. Ever bountiful soup kettle. I always dislike those particular things. They serve a purpose, but I just always dislike it. But anyway, that's just a personal preference, and then possibly for another day, another rant. Like I said, I'm sure if you look around, you can probably find this book on the internet fairly cheap, or you can find somebody who's selling a PDF version of it. Or you can probably go to your local bookstore or game store and the used book section and find it. All I know is if you don't have something like this on your shelf, it's good to have. If you collect books of magic, this is also a good addition to your repertoire. It's just a good piece of equipment. This is a tool that we should have on any GM's shelf. Good players can gain a lot of good useful information out of having a book like this. Highly recommend it. Not plugging the company. TSR is no longer in business. As far as I know, Wizards of the Coast have never reintroduced this. Maybe they have. Don't know. Frankly, I don't care. I just know that I have it on my shelf, and a lot of old school gamers probably do too. And sometimes it's good to take them out, wipe the dust off of them, look through them, because you just never know what gem you're going to find hiding in the dust.